I think that the community needs to really understand that these are our kids. This is our community's children that we're talking about. And
Morning. We are with Ginny Becker, the Executive Director of the Kelowna Foundation today, and she's here to talk to us about something extremely important, and it's the Child Advocacy Center. So thanks for joining us today. I know that you're very passionate about this. Tell us what we got going on here at the Child Advocacy Center.
Sure. So the Child Advocacy Center is a facility that we're building in Kelowna. It's near the landmark buildings in the brick building that used to be the Interior Health Building. So the facility will be in the upper floor of that building. It is designated 100% as a response to child abuse in our community. So child advocacy centers are not new. It's a model that's proven around the world. There's almost 1,000 operating CACs in the United States now. There's 38 in Canada. And the notion of them is that they become a collective and multidisciplinary response to child abuse. So it's meant to change the system and how we currently respond to child abuse in our community.
Right on. So now I know this is something that you guys have been working on for a while. It's going to take multi-million dollars to get this going, but you guys are basically right into it. I know upstairs, if you hear some noise, they're doing construction right now. They're finishing up construction, and you're hoping to have this operational by before Christmas, November sometime.
Yeah.
Right?
So this project's actually been in development since 2014. These are huge projects to bring to life. It's the collaboration of some really big agencies. So there's a ton of finessing that goes into how it's going to work, and how it comes to life in any community is a little bit different. A lot of amazing people have worked on this project to get it where it is now. And essentially where we're at today is the construction is underway. We're continuing to fundraise. That's going to be part of the forever story of the Child Advocacy Center. But ultimately, the goal at this point is to be serving family and children by mid to late November of this year.
Wow. And I know, so you mentioned it's 14,000 square feet upstairs.
It is, yeah.
That's amazing. That is incredible. And I'm looking forward to seeing what it all looks like as it comes together. Now, can you talk a little bit about the current model and the current response to child abuse in our community, and what you hope to bring as this comes to fruition?
For sure. You know, currently when a child discloses abuse in our community, like many communities around the world, it really triggers a bit of a ping pong ball effect for these families. And that's, you know, there's a lot of great agencies doing good work, but they're all doing them separately. So it's a really siloed, fractured system. So these kids might be sort of soft interviewed at school, and then they need to be interviewed by a social worker. They'll be interviewed at the detachment with an investigator. And there's just a series of events that go on. So there's all these different players that need to be engaged, and they all kind of have the priorities of their agency and what needs to be achieved. The point of child advocacy is to put all of those resources under one child-friendly roof, so that now when that disclosure statement is made and it's determined to be a child advocacy case, when those families come here, everything that they need is wrapped into this one space. So they're not left to navigate a system that's really complicated and fractured on their own in a time that is incredibly traumatic anyway. So the notion of this is, now when a family comes into the Child Advocacy Center, they meet their child advocate, so that's their designated person, the person that warm introduces them to all the other services. So it helps to build trust in it, and it really just is designed to make that story unfold in a much more cohesive way, where the needs of the child and that family are really at the center of it. So everything kind of revolves around the family instead of, again, this sort of fractured, agency-driven process. It becomes a really family-centric process.
And so, for example, you would have RCMP here on site rather than going to separate locations and bouncing around.
Yeah, so the child abuse team will work from this center now. There'll be social workers and healthcare workers. So the notion being that everything this child will need is here. And, you know, the principle of child advocacy really got its start in the sort of simple psychology of when a child has found the courage to tell a story like this, which takes incredible bravery and courage, that historically the path has then been that they go off to a police detachment to be interviewed. And if you're a 6-year-old, a police station is a place where there's, you know, handcuffs and guns and uniforms. It's pretty scary. And there's also just the connection to this is where bad guys go. So it's not really conducive to building a feeling of trust and confidence in children. So the whole sort of premise started with building friendlier places to interview kids that didn't have that sort of intimidating scary kind of feeling.
Absolutely.
So the notion of what we're building upstairs, we've worked closely with designers and people from across the country to make sure that what we're building is really friendly to the child. So it's softer finishings. You won't see uniforms inside. You won't see any of those sort of trigger pieces that you would associate with the traditional system. It's really, really child friendly.
Amazing. I know one of the things that really hit home for me was when you spoke a little specifically in terms of the numbers of children who are affected by this. Can you speak to that a little bit? 'Cause
Yeah.
I think it makes it more real for everybody to think, oh my goodness, like this is a real issue that we need to talk about.
It's a tough issue to talk about. I mean, I think as a community, there's a lot of hard things to talk about right now. We've got, we're talking about homelessness, we're talking about the opioid addiction, we're talking about youth mental health, and there's a lot of tough things. I think when you look at childhood trauma, this is a really complicated topic. It makes people uncomfortable. It's not something we want to talk about. But the statistics are there. This is a really troubling statistic. In the province of BC, the number is 1 in 3. Being able to drill it right down to Kelowna, it's a bit complicated because this center will serve 4 communities. So it's Lake Country, Kelowna, West Kelowna, Peachland. So there's no great way to know today exactly what that number looks like. But it's pretty real. At the end of the day, 1 in 3 is, it was best put to me about if you're carpooling to soccer and there's 4 kids in your car, one of these children has or will have a story at some point. So it's a conversation I think our community needs to embrace a little bit and start talking about where that impact is and being part of the solution.
Absolutely. And so, totally. And this is a community effort that, I think a lot of people may not realize how much involvement it takes to get something like this off the ground and running, and you guys are getting there, and every day I'm sure it's one step closer. How do you find, what is your biggest challenge in getting the community engaged and finding that sort of why and care factor and spreading the word about that? Like, what have you...
Yeah, I would say it's a couple things. We're a pretty small team. We're new to this space. We came to the table to help with this project for pretty personal reasons on our leadership side, and it makes it tough. You have to build that trust factor, and I think getting the community to understand what this is, it's a bit complicated. It's specific to child abuse. There's oftentimes people say, well, is this what Foundry does, or is this what another organization does? And the answer is no. Currently, right now, our community does not have an integrated response to abuse. So really getting the community to take an interest and learn about what this is and how this model works. I tell people everywhere I go and speaking is, come for the tour, come and learn about what this is. My hope for the community is that everybody that drives by this building will be able to say to themselves, I have a part in making sure that exists in our community. Whether that's through donation or, someday there'll be volunteer opportunities. We're not there yet today because we're still in the building phase, but I think that the community needs to really understand that these are our kids. This is our community's children that we're talking about, and being able to get involved in whatever that capacity looks like is really critical to this staying alive and working in the community.
Now, on that note, how can someone specifically get involved or come learn about more information or find out more information about what's going on there?
Yeah, so the website has a ton of great information on just really teaching yourself about the model and how does it work. So that's www.cackelowna.com.
CAC Kelowna.
Yeah, so I think that's a great place to start is, go watch the video, dig around on that site a little bit and learn. Obviously, we have still another, just a little over $4 million to raise. So if you own a company and you have a community strategy of giving back, take a look at this cause, see if it's something that resonates for your organization. And as individuals, I think we often underestimate our ability to make an impact. But if you look at this and you think about the kids in your life or the child you once were or whatever that looks like, there's a way to make an impact. The donation platform is set up online, so it's really easy. And right now we have a text to donate as well, which is you text the word child to 45678.
Okay.
So that's a simple way to give back to it. But I think more than anything, it's really about really learn it, really understand what the Child Advocacy Center is. And I think also coming to terms with the fact that this lives in our community.
Absolutely.
Our community is not immune to this story. It's more prevalent than people would like to imagine.
Yeah.
And I think it's important that we start to talk about it and what it looks like and what it means to the future families of our community as well.
Well,
and how
it's
this
an
unfolds.
extraordinarily noble cause, and I'm sure it's been a challenge. But as you guys get closer to opening it up, I'm really looking forward to seeing what you guys have going on here. And so just again, where this is, we're 1815, right, Kirshner? The big brick building, it's right beside Foundry. Yeah, this is going to be amazing. We're going to get a little tour of upstairs in a minute and see what they've all got going on in this 14,000 square feet. And Ginny, thanks a lot for sitting down with us today. This is wicked. So I can't wait to see how this goes for you guys.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Awesome. Thanks a lot.